Let's take a good look at this curious business of thought. We often imagine that our thoughts are fresh, brand new creations. But have you noticed that they always come from something old? Our past memories, our habits, and the patterns we've picked up over time. Relationships, on the other hand, are alive and constantly changing when we try to meet this living flow of relationship with an old way of thinking. Conflict is bound to pop up. You see, thought is like a record of everything we've learned and experienced, a bundle of memories stored away in our heads. Whenever we need to figure something out, we dig into that pile of old knowledge and let it guide us. But no matter how clever or thorough our memory is, it's still the past, isn't it? It's always old, and so thought itself can never truly be new. If we're looking for something really fresh, something beyond what we already know, thought can't take us there. All it can do is rework what's already in the memory bank. This is not something mystical or tricky or hard to grasp. It's actually pretty straightforward. If you watch your own mind, you'll see that whenever you feel a rush of inspiration about something entirely new, thought quickly steps in and turns it into familiar images, ideas, and formulas. Thought loves what it already knows. The moment we try to think about what's genuinely unknown, say the reality some call God, or the ultimate truth, the mind tries to box it up into something it can label and store. In that process, living unknown is dragged into the realm of the known, and it stops being truly unknown. That's where confusion and conflict start creeping in. Now, let's ask, what do we really mean when we say I am thinking? Normally, we only notice our thoughts when we run into a problem or a challenge. When we're confronted with something that demands a response, then we realize, there I am thinking. But this thinking we become aware of is just the reaction of memory. It's built from all our beliefs and backgrounds, be they political, religious, or cultural. If you happen to be Christian or communist or Hindu or whatever, that background influences how you react. When two people with different backgrounds collide, there is friction. It's pretty clear that if we don't understand the foundation from which our thoughts arise, we'll always be stuck in conflict, both inside ourselves and with others. The real question becomes, can thought ever come to a stop? And if it did, would that help us see more clearly? We've been trying to solve our personal and worldly problems by thinking, analyzing, and debating. But if you look around, has thought solved any major human crisis once and for all? The more we think about a problem, the more complicated it seems to get. Thought only shows us pieces, never the whole. But partial answer isn't a real solution. So how do we step back and look at the entire problem in one sweep? We can only do it when thought, which divides everything into bits and pieces, quiets down. Thought comes from the me, the center of our personal hopes, fears, conditioning, and tradition. If that center doesn't meddle, then perhaps we can see things in a complete way. But to see that center clearly, we have to watch how it acts inside us, how it chases power, clings to status, and craves security. If we keep trying to fix or fight this me, we're still thinking, and therefore still tangled up in it. To simply watch it without wanting to change it reveals it plainly, and once it's seen for what it is, that self-centered movement naturally loses its grip. Every time we think, that thinking is colored by our conditioning, our upbringing, our culture, our personal biases. So of course someone might ask, aren't these very words also coming from that same conditioned mind? Indeed. To communicate, we must use language and words, and these come from memory. But the question is, does the speaker or the writer only from past experiences and repeat them, or is there a direct seeing that unfolds right now, which uses words merely as a tool? It's a subtle matter. When we say something loving to someone, do we say it from memory, or is it a fresh, alive feeling in that moment? In other words, can the mind stop being a storage machine and speak from something immediate? Let's also look at how we think about death. Most people assume death is either the end of everything or just the start of another journey, like being reborn or living on in some spirit realm. We take these assumptions as obvious, but often just expressions of our hopes and fears. Someone who's had a miserable life may want oblivion. Someone who's found life sweet may want continuation. Either way, these are just ideas spun by a mind that's afraid we only see clearly if we drop our conclusions, whether we're leaning towards it all end or it all continues. Same goes for the concept of God or the absolute. If you want to truly find out if there is something beyond this world, you can't cling to a belief that there is or isn't. You have to put aside the known to see what is unknown. If you don't, you'll keep dragging your hopes and fears into the picture. The question is, can the mind be free of both dogmatic beliefs and stubborn denial? If we can do that, the fear of death, this fear of losing what we know, starts to vanish, because that fear depends on our urge to hold on to our conclusions. What we're really afraid of is letting go of what we already know, Our names are attached, meant our experiences and achievements, but if we can see that each moment can be fresh, that clinging to the past is what brings fear, then maybe death is just letting go of yesterday now. When there's no heavy baggage of conclusions in the mind, is a mind in a state of constant renewal, of constant dying to the old. In that state, the notion of death takes on a whole new meaning. You see, all of this understanding, thought, memory, conditioning unfolds in relationships. We can't isolate ourselves and hope to grasp these things in a vacuum. It's how we interact with others, our families, friends, co-workers, that we begin to notice how we judge, cling, defend, or compare. Relationships act like mirrors, reflecting our inner patterns back to us if we pay attention without condemnation or excuses. We learn about ourselves in real time. This awareness alone, without chasing any particular outcome, can naturally calm the restless chatter of the mind, and in that stillness, something deeper may shine through, something we can't force or capture with thought. Now some might say, but I love to think about God. Isn't that a noble pursuit? Maybe by reflecting on all the arguments for and against, I'll eventually find God. Well, the person who believes in God will dig up plenty of evidence to confirm their faith, and the atheist will find equally strong arguments against it. Both are engaged in thinking about something they don't genuinely know. The point is, can we see how our thought, rooted in memory and conditioning, limits our perspective? Thought can't discover what lies beyond its own boundaries. So no matter how many holy books you read, how many philosophies you analyze, it's still the mind working within the circle of what it already knows. Discovery calls for stepping out of that circle. If you want to know what's on top of a mountain, you can't just sit in the valley and keep guessing. You have to climb, but climbing means you have to move from where you are. It means letting go of comfort and safety, not just rearranging old ideas. Thought remains stuck in old ruts, just collecting and comparing data. It will never uncover the extraordinary thing we call God or the real. The territory is beyond thought's reach. When you have an unexpected insight, a genuine aha moment, it comes as a flash. During that flash, you aren't busy labeling or storing or measuring. You're just wide open. Only after the moment passes does the mind jump in, saying, wow, what was that? I want more, and tries to recapture it. But the minute it does, it's turned that living insight into something old and secondhand, because now it's a memory. The mind loves to chase the memory of that glorious experience, hoping to repeat it, but it can't be repeated. It was alive and now it's gone. So the heart of the matter is to understand ourselves deeply, our thoughts, our conditioning, our reflex. To hold on to the known, we have to see ourselves as we really are, not we wish to be. That means noticing jealousy, fear, ambition, or pride, whatever is actually there, without trying to crush it or feed it. Merely watch it. If we try to force or reshape it, we're still operating from the same old background of me. Watching it plainly, however, reveals a whole different mood. We stop hopping from one form of conditioning to another, and in doing so may stumble upon what can't be contained in the known. In short, thinking is a valuable tool for practical living. Knowing how to drive a car, bake a cake, or solve a math problem, but it can't guide us to what's truly new, unknown. That's a different dimension entirely, reached only when the mind isn't busy dragging the past into every corner of our lives. If thought all silent, naturally, not through force, the mind can be astonishingly still, and in that stillness something beyond words might just appear. But don't take word for it. Look at your own mind and see. That's the real invitation.